In 1852, Horace Carpentier acquired a small town west of Brooklyn, California, which was another village in the Bay Area. He noticed how this town had plenty of oak trees on the grassy plains, which prompted him to name this town Oakland. Oakland would grow and go on to become its own city. Plenty of people started moving in, and today it has around 400,000 citizens. While many people don't live there, the city has its ways of grabbing people's attention. Sports. At one point or another, Oakland had 3 successful sports teams: the Oakland Athletics, the Golden State Warriors, and the Oakland Raiders. All 3 of these teams were looking good. The Warriors had formed their dynasty in recent years, the A's had some excellent runs in the 2010s but were really on top in the 70s after winning 3 consecutive World Series, and the Raiders also had some very nice runs in the 70s and 80s. As great as each team was, things started going downhill in the 2020s. The Warriors had moved out of Oakland and instead played in San Francisco, the Raiders moved out and instead went to Las Vegas, and the A's are about to move to Vegas after this season. So how did Oakland go from a city with good sports teams to now losing all of them? Well, why don't we look at each team to see how they got to the position of moving out of town. The Golden State Warriors were founded in 1946 by Peter A. Terrell and Stephen Kim. It wasn't until 1962 that the Warriors moved to the Bay Area, and not until 1971 when the Warriors played in Oakland at the iconic Oracle Arena. The Warriors were looking pretty good in the 1970s. They made the playoffs 6 times in that decade and won the finals in 1975. This was when the Warriors had the legendary small forward, Rick Barry. That season that the Warriors won the finals, he averaged an absurd 30 points per game with 6 assists, 5 rebounds, and 3 steals. He was an insane player back in his prime. After winning the finals in 1975, the Warriors would go on a cold spell. They would make the playoffs 10 times between 1975 and 2014, but they never won the finals. They had some seasons with strong players like Jamal Crawford, Monte Ellis, and Jason Richardson, but it didn't matter. They didn't have enough talent for a ring. In the mid to late 2010s, the Warriors took over the NBA. In the 2014-15 season, the Warriors went 67-15. They won the NBA Finals for the first time in 40 years. This was just at the beginning of the Big Three being formed: Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Before the Warriors were a contending team and instead were one of the worst teams in the NBA, their attendance was around 600,000 people in a season. But the season they won the Finals, it jumped up to 800,000. 2015-16 would be the season they had the incredible run of going 73-9 in a season. They beat the record that the 96 Bulls set. The Warriors started the season on a 24-game winning streak. Stephen Curry broke the record for most three-pointers sunk in a season with 402. Ray Allen previously set the record. Of course, the Warriors didn't have a successful ending to that season. Blowing a 3-1 lead to the Cavs isn't great, but they would end up signing Kevin Durant and have 3 final appearances and 2 championships. So in terms of talent and entertainment, the Warriors had all of that. But what about the arena? Was Oracle Arena able to attract many people? And if so, were these people satisfied? Well, let's take a look at some reviews. When looking at Google reviews, Oracle Arena has a 4.4 star review. Now, Oracle isn't just for the Warriors. This is a place that also hosts concerts and other relatively large events. But looking at the reviews of Warriors fans who went to the games, here's what they said. I watched the Warriors vs Raptors game, and the atmosphere was fantastic, and the showmanship at the game was fantastic. Team stores are aplenty, and very easy to get a beer and get around the arena. The arena was a bit dated, however, and food choices were not fantastic compared to other arenas. I love that place. It's special to see the Warriors play there. The crowd always pushes the team to do their best. The food is the same food that we have in all sports. I'll probably go back there one day. The location is perfect if you're traveling by public transport. The walk from the Coliseum station of the bar to the arena itself is really short. It's also guarded by cops, so it's safe. The staff are really nice and helpful. Even if you're in the last row like me, you get a pretty good view of the players on the court. The Warriors are an amazing team to watch, so if you're visiting the Bay Area and you're a fan of the NBA, a visit is definitely worth it. People seem to have been satisfied with their experience at the arena, and things should only be going up by having the best team in the NBA playing in your city. Well, not exactly. After 2019, the Golden State Warriors moved out of Oracle Arena and instead went to Chase Center in San Francisco. But why? The Warriors were attracting many fans to Oakland, and fans had a great experience at the arena. According to multiple sources, it was because the Warriors were looking for an upgrade and wanted to make more money. And as much as it sucks, Money talks. The Warriors couldn't last in Oakland forever and thought it would be best to go to Chase Center, a billion-dollar arena. So the super team of Oakland was now known as the excellent team in San Francisco. Granted, it's still in the Bay Area, but in a different location. But sadly, 2020 wasn't the only team Oakland sports fans had to lose. The Oakland Raiders were established in 1960 but didn't join the NFL until 1970. The Raiders were a dominant team throughout the 70s and 80s. Almost every year, they were guaranteed to make the playoffs, and they won the Super Bowl thrice in 8 years. They had some very talented players on their team who are now considered legends. Dave Casper, Greg Townsend, Phil Villapiano, Todd Christensen, Cliff Branch, and Jim Plunkett, just to name a few guys. As great of a franchise as the Raiders were, the league was not a big fan of them. They were looked at as villains of the NFL. Why? Because these guys were known for playing rough. A prime example of one of their players who didn't care whatsoever about his opponents was Bill Romanowski. This guy was huge, 6'4", 245 pounds. So how bad was this guy if he had the entire NFL in shambles? Let's look at a few instances where he was a little controversial. 1995, Romanowski was ejected and fined for kicking the Eagles kicker Larry Centers on the head. In 1997, he was fined for a helmet-to-helmet hit on the Panthers QB in preseason. Still in 1997, he spat on Niners wide receiver J.J. Stokes for taunting. In 1999, he was fined for not one, not two, but 3 illegal hits and a thrown punch at Tony Gonzalez. In 2003, he attacked and injured one of his teammates in practice. The injury was so bad that the man was forced to retire. He was sued for over $3 million by the tight end Marcus Williams for doing so. You guys get it. He was the biggest bully in the NFL. And by having villainous players, it influences fans to have the same attitude. Raiders fans have always been known to be some of the league's loudest, most irregular, and poorly behaved fans. But they were also very loyal. Maybe even too loyal. Raiders fans are known for dressing up with detailed costumes to match the Raiders' colors. It's over the top if you ask me. But this is who the Raiders were known as. The bad boys. They didn't care. They were playing tough football. So how did the Raiders go from having such a loyal fan base and successful team to moving to Las Vegas? Well, it had to do with their stadium. And this is not the last time Oakland Coliseum will be brought up in this video. The Raiders stadium sucked. There's no other way of saying it. It was garbage. Season by season, it was rated as the worst stadium in the NFL. And from a business point of view, this was the best way to go bankrupt. So in March 2017, a meeting was held to see whether NFL team owners would agree to move them out. And it was a blowout. 31 of 32 owners said they should leave. And in 2020, the Raiders officially moved out of Oakland and became known as the Las Vegas Raiders. We should still respect the Raiders for not having a complete new makeover. It was still the same logo, same colors, just a little bit different. But after losing the Warriors and the Raiders, all Oakland sports fans had left was one sport: baseball. But now, their team is on track to be the last domino to fall. The Oakland A's have always been a particular team. For one, they are the only team in baseball to have green in their color scheme. That in itself makes them different compared to other teams. But they are also special because of their former general manager, Billy Beane. He would have the strategy that surprised baseball fans: Moneyball. The A's game plan was to spend the least money possible on talent. Instead of being buyers, it's as if they would sell but still be successful from it. Billy Beane was a genius, and it's probably why he got a movie multiple Oscars. As for the team itself, it was pretty good. The A's have created some legends of the game today, like Rickey Henderson, the fastest player of all time, one of the best closers, Raleigh Fingers, a dominant starting pitcher, Catfish Hunter, and another star pitcher, Dennis Eckersley. They were also the team who drafted Josh Donaldson, but that story doesn't end on a bright note. But looking at the A's record history, they look pretty good. Ever since they joined Oakland in 1968, they made the playoffs every decade. They were so dominant in the 70s that they had a three-peat. They won from 1972 to 1974. They would win again in 1989, which was the same year it was the historical World Series due to it being against their rivals, the San Francisco Giants, and because the Loma Prieta earthquake had occurred in the middle of a game, which caused the series to be postponed. But the A's were never really a team who would find themselves at the bottom of the league every season. That is, until recent years. The Oakland A's decided that they wanted 0 All-Stars on their team. Over the past few years, the A's have traded some all-star caliber players like Chris Bassett, Sean Manaea, Matt Olson, and Matt Chapman. Olson and Chapman were the stars of the team, but the A's didn't want to pay them, so they sent them away. They decided to sell. And in recent years, the A's sent away their all-star catcher Sean Murphy. So this season, you would imagine the A's sucking, which they have. They are the worst team in the MLB with a record of 33-84 at the time I'm making this video. They are the last team anybody would want to watch at the moment. And in 2023, the A's owner John Fisher announced that he wanted to move the team to Las Vegas. And unless somebody doesn't buy the team by the end of the season, they are goners. So let me ask the question again. How did the A's go from victorious winners to now the worst team in the league and moving out of town? Well, it's for multiple reasons. For one, like I said previously, the A's suck. Nobody wants to watch a team that has the worst record in baseball. And when the performance slows down, the attendance goes down with it. The A's have an average attendance of 8,000 people per game in 2023, the lowest in the league. And another reason why is also going back to the Oakland Raiders' reason of leaving. The stadium sucks. I went to the stadium not too long ago to watch the A's play the San Francisco Giants. There were 40,000 people in attendance that night, and that was because of the Bay Area series, so you knew it was going to be crowded. As for my experience, it was okay. The staff was friendly, the team stores were in reasonable locations, and the food wasn't too pricey. But in terms of taste, it was bland. The only reason why I didn't entirely dislike my experience was because I ran into the Giants PA announcer, Rennell Brooks Moon. But besides that, it was the worst stadium I have visited. Another reason why they're moving out of town is because their lease at the stadium will expire after 2024, meaning the A's will no longer be able to play there. And going to Las Vegas could be a great way to make money if you're John Fisher. Vegas is known to have plenty of gamblers and who want to put some money on some sports games. This doesn't mean I support the move. If I were an A's fan, I would be devastated. Losing my team would hurt like crazy. The A's have been in Oakland for over 60 years, and the fact that all that could go away sucks. All we can do as fans is hope that someone buys the A's and that John Fisher sells the team.